Hello Soma fam. So if this is what you want to learn, how to make an elastic waistline like this with gathers underneath the bust, and this looks so ready-made. It looks like a jumpsuit, but it's not. It's a two-piece. Here is the back view. So gorgeous. I love the outcome of this outfit. And if this is what you want to learn, with pants that look like joggers, that looks so exceptional and ready-made, then this video is for you. Stay tuned. So first and foremost, we'll take the measurements of the entire base. So this is for the top, with upper bust 8 inches, bust 10.5, under bust 14 inches, and you'd see I left a ½ inch allowance at the bottom part, and this is for a busty person. So I went from the neckline depth is 9 inches, and then the width I went in by 4.5 inches. So you can go deeper or wider if you want it, but this is what I'm after. And so there's not going to be an opening at the top part, so that's why I didn't leave any allowance at the top, because it's going to be hinged on back and front. So now for this part, I would give up after the neck depth. You need to come down by like 1 inch, so we'll correct it later on. I went in by 2.5 inches here, but when I saw how it looked sharp, so I corrected it. I turned my curve ruler in such a way that instead of the 2.5 inches, it's 2 inches out. So I'll place it so that it doesn't look straight. I want that curve look. I'm after the curve look. So I linked it up to that ½ inch at the bottom part. This is mainly for busty people. If you're busty, if you want it to have a lot of gathers underneath your bust, then this is it. But if you're not busty, I'll show you what to do as you go on in the video, so just stay tuned. So here is 2 inches, going in by 2 inches. And then for the shoulder is 7.5. But what we're doing is we're going as wide as want it to be to the length of the sleeve, so that is 10 inches. So after that mark, I went wide as 10 inches, and then I measured the normal bust line or upper bust. So this is where the sleeve is. This is where it's meant to be 7.5. So that is 7.5 inches. So here is the bust. The bust is 10 inches, and then I just went in by the upper bust the same 10 inches, and then the under bust I took the normal measurement for the under bust, and this is it. So to link up all this together all the way to the point, so take note that we're going to open it up, so it's going to be a bit wide. So just take the exact measurement here, and so instead of this part to be sharp, I went up by ½ inch. So you see I linked it up to the bottom part like this, very easy. And then from that shoulder point where I went 10 inches wide, I just linked it up. So I made it a little bit wide so that it doesn't curve in. I wanted to the wideness. Now that's where the sleeve is. So I went out by 1.5 inches so that the sleeve is able to come out and not be underneath the armpit. And after coming out by 1.5 inches, I linked it up to the sleeve and made this curve with our curve ruler, and voila, we're done. We've done our top. Now I went in by 2.5 to 3 inches like this. So here it's 4 inches, so 2.5 to 3 inches. Just make your choice, and whichever one you'd be able to open it, but make sure it's in the midpoint of this bottom part. So I linked it up to the top part like this, drew a ruler, and that's where we're going to have our opening. So now see the measurement, it's 14.5. Now I told you this is for a busty person, and all the way to the bottom part 7 inches more. So I added 7 inches to the bottom part. That is going to be where our gathers is going to be, where we're going to put our elastic thread, sew our elastic thread and make it elastic. So we're going to make it a bit wider as we go on, but here it is. I just took the measurements of where the waistline is meant to be, which is 16 inches below the 14.5 inches. You know that's 1.5 inch bottom. So I measured it. This is the exact measurement, but we're going to go wider. We're going to expand it. So right now we just take the exact measurement and draw it. So I just expanded it a little bit just to link it up to that top part like this. So don't mind the first rule, and then linked it up with 7 inches. So the reason for 7 inches is that when you make ruches with thread, when you're using elastic thread, it's going to shrink the fabric. So you should make sure you leave enough allowance even at the bottom part for it to shrink. So now this is for someone who is slimmer. Now if you're not busty, not necessarily slimmer, if you're not busty and you'd want to make this top for yourself, make sure you do this. That ½ inch at the bottom part, don't put it, take it out. So I'll just draw it out like this and just take it out. So I'll cut that part out. You've seen I'll just link it up, reduce it by half an inch at the bottom, so it's exactly 14 inches. And then I went in by 1.5 inch. Can you see? Even if it's the exact measurement, make sure you go in by 1.5 inch, because we're going to add it, and when we add it, I'll show you how it is. So all that inches I added, the 1.5 for the sleeve and all the likes, I went in by it and then cut it out. So remember, this is for a person who is less busty and you want to get the exact measurement when you open it up. So I'm going to trim out the side and the bottom parts as we agreed, and then we're good with this. So you open it up. I use the scissors to tear it open, so I joined 2 parts. Open it up and then measure 3 inches gap. There's going to be a 3 inches space, so I'll place the paper inside like this. You see, 3 inches gap, and we're good to go. So if you measure it entirely, you'd see we have 11 inches. That means it's even wider, and so that is the sewing allowance, and it's fitted. And then the gathers at the bottom part, because this person is around 39 to 40 inches bust line. Then this is for the bottom part, so I divided it into 4, that's the waistline, into 4, and then opened it up and dividing into 4. You see it's 2.15. You see it's just 2.15 inches for each of them, the brown, and then the one for the space, I gave it like 2 inches or less than 2 inches, but make sure all of them are equal. So it's just 2 inches, 2 inches, and then we're good to go. So did that all the way to the middle part and ensure that my fold is still perfect. So if you measure it, you'd see the entire space, which is 14.5. So on fold, that will be 29 inches. So this is the entire waistline, as wide as it will be, so that we can be able to have our ruches. And this is for a busty person, which is 4 inches. So made it 4 inches wide, so that when it ruches or gathers underneath, it falls perfectly. So this is how it looks when it's wide open. Isn't this gorgeous? I love this Graffiti design. I love this fabric. It's just beautiful, and this style is just perfect for it. And then here it is, the pattern is brought here, so you can either fold the top part like this and place it on it before you cut it out, and you don't need to cut the bottom part with any allowance, but the side you can add 1 inch allowance or half an inch. So for the sleeve, I ensure that I left 1 inch allowance so that I'll be able to fold it. I love the way the length of the sleeve is, and that's perfect. So you either fold it at the top so that it's straight, or you just place it in such a way that there is enough but leave enough allowance at the neck depth so that you can be able to unfold. So in this point, I didn't fold and I left it this way. So don't mind the part where I left an allowance at the bottom part. I was just contemplating over it, and if it's you want the bust to settle in perfectly, and if the measurement from the shoulder to on the bust is too small, then this is the part you'd add it, and add that half inch at the bottom part. So at the side, this is just perfect. So here it is, I left 1 inch at the side for sewing, while at the other side half an inch after we weave it for sewing as well. So this on the bust is perfect for me, and I'm good to go. So I'm not going to add any allowance again, because it already has up to more than 1 inch, because the under bust is 14.5 inches. So we're good to go. Then we'll do the same thing. Just mark it. You see, that's exactly where it is. So there was no need for me to mark this. I'm just showing you where the normal bust would have stopped. So since it's that way, after the top part, after adding that top part, then we're good to go. So here it is. So you're not going to cut it on the fold. You know you're going to open it wide because it's already on fold. So open it wide because the top part and the bottom part is joined together, remember? So we're just going to cut the neck depth of the front part alone. So I left half an inch or 3/4, so it doesn't really matter. I left enough inches. I didn't want it to be so deep down. So don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I know you might be enjoying the video, and forget that you should like to encourage this video and to be able to post some more. So subscribe so that many people would see this video and follow. So thank you very much. And here it is, we're done with the top part, and we would switch to the back part so that you'd see it. But before we do that, let's cut this bottom part first. After cutting out the bottom part, I left half an inch for sewing at the bottom part, or just cut it out. So I cut out everything because it's already very wide. Instead of cutting out and making it 14.5 inches, I just cut it exactly that 15 inches because the half inch allowance for sewing is already there. And then this is the base part. I cut exactly it because it's long enough. And then at the top, see what I did. I don't want it to be sharp at that point, because when you're doing your ruches with the thread, when you're doing the gathers with the elastic thread, of course it's going to shrink. So you see how I'll cut it. So I added 2 inches at the side just for extra. So if it's more, it's better for it to be more than less. But if you want to be very tight, use exactly this pattern. So here it is how I cut it. And when I got to this, the part where there is a tip, where there's a peak edge, I still left it, and see how deep it is. I just love the outcome. So when we put the ruches, you'd see how it will shrink and it will look exceptional. So now let's see how we place it on the back part. So before we get to the back part, we'll cut this, we'll cut the back part off this one as well. So here, take note of it. Now for the back part, we went down by 1.5 inch. And after going down by 1.5 inch, we used our curve ruler, merged it, and we're going to cut it up. If not, it will poke you at the back and it won't sit well on your shoulder. So you know that both back and front is just linked together and there's no separation. So this is the best way to go about it. Remember, we already cut out the pattern for the side and then open it up to do all this. So now for the bottom part. For the back part, there is no bust at the back part. So what we're going to do is ensure we measure and ensure that it is 14 inches at the back. So we ruled it at that point where we cut it before, straight. Then we went in by 2 inches. I seen, and then make sure we link it from with our curve ruler from our sleeve to this part, and linked it like this, and we're going to cut out that part. Now the back part has a sink in, so you make sure you go up. So I'm just placing it so that you see the two of them. It's all alike, and this is how we cut it out. So okay, let me cut it out first so that I'll show you and you won't be confused about it. So cutting it out straight like this, I'll keep it aside, cut out the 2 inches that we did, and we're good to go. So we're good with this part. Now I want to show you how it would go up. Because it's the back part, there is this sink at the back. So to get that perfectly, we'll cut out everything out here. To get that perfectly, we need to go up by 1 inch. So I'll show you how to do that. So use our measuring tape. Can you see? Everything just sums up to 14.5 inches as we measured in the front. So just go up by 1 inch. Even if there's no zipper, it's necessary you do this. Go up by 1 inch and then slant it all the way to the bottom, this side of the back. And we cut it out, and voila, we're done with our back part. Now we'll do back part of the top part. So we're going to go to the part where we're going to cut out the elastic. So this is how it looks. I'm already liking how it looks. It looks gorgeous. So this is it, and we'll move on to the back part. So we'll bring the pattern for the front part. You know that tip, that pitch, can you see? We're going to fold it in. We don't want that. So we're going to cut exactly what we cut to the front. Remember the front, we added 2 inches. So we're just placing that front part, excluding the peak at the edge, and then cutting it straight forward. And exactly, so what is in the front we cut at the back, and we're good to go. So now for our elastic, if you want to know exactly how it's done, watch my previous video on how to shear a fabric and make a fabric elastic beautifully. So I taught it in detail. So the bottom part is going to have our elastic thread, and I showed you how to thread your bobbin for the bottom part, and then the top part is just your normal thread. So I just took my time and did this. So I did all the way from the top, and make sure you leave ½ an inch. You don't go all the way to the edge when you're sewing. You sew and you leave ½ an inch at the edge. So in this one I didn't rule, but I used my eye and watched every step. So immediately I got to the V shaped, I ensure I went all the way through. Can you see? As long as there's a ½ an inch allowance for joining at the top part. So I'll link it up, sew it all the way to this edge, and leave ½ an inch at that edge. Curve. This takes time and it needs precision and patience. So go down by ½ an inch and then sew again all the way to the other edge. So I did this all the way through for this part and also the back part. And I'll show you how the outcome is. It's beautiful. It turned out exceptionally. So here's the outcome. See how beautiful it looks. Just see the finishing. Perfect. So I used the black thread because you have to use a matching thread. The thread matches beautifully with it. So the back will have the elastic thread, the front will have normal thread, and then this is the front part, and see the V-shaped neck, all gorgeous. So I'm going to use bias to just fold it in. We don't need the extra of that. So in this place, I told you 1 inch. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cut out what we didn't cut out earlier. It has to be 1 inch allowance so that I'll have that V. I want it to come from the middle all the way to the side. So I'll turn it this way and then make sure it's 1 inch left at the top, and then curved it to cut it out. So if you want your cleavage to show, there's no need for all the extras. All you have to do is just go down the slant all the way to the edge, and then just leave a little pinch, like half an inch, for it to be able to join to the bottom part, and that's it. So after cutting it out, we'll place it on it. And so you should ensure you're going to stretch it. You're going to stretch it, and then that will give you the gathers at the bottom part. So when you're sewing, you place on it, you can pin it down and stretch it as you're going. It'll stretch all the way to the edge, and good. So before we sew it on, I made sure I joined the bottom part together and then the front part together. So before we'd even do all that, we'll join. Now this is the front part joining. I fold it in, so I weaved it. You see the edges, the finishing is beautiful. So I weaved it at the edges. After weaving, I'm now folding it, fold it by half an inch, and then at the bottom part I'll sew up to 1 inch as we left it earlier. And then this part too would place the front and the back part, and you see this other part I didn't sew all the way. I just wanted that ruffle at the bottom, so I left 1 inch allowance at the bottom part and then sewed it, and I'll bring it. So here it is after it has been sewn. So see it, here's the sleeve. So it's just to take note, this is the part where it was sewn by half an inch, folded in, and then the bottom part by 1 inch. So we've joined the two parts together. Now we're going to join our elastic to the non-elastic, and this is how it looks. I love it, even with the bias that has been used at the bottom. So I folded this so that it doesn't show the rough edges of our weaving. If you want to leave it that way, it's up to you. So I already have a pattern for trouser. If you want to know how to make a trouser, if not, this video will just be too long, you'd go and watch my previous video on how to make a palazzo trouser. So here it is, the waistline. It's 3 inches. It means I used the entirety of 6 inches for the height of it, and then for the width of it I used up to this 24.5 inches. So it means on fold is going to be 59 inches. So here it is, I'm going to sew more than half an inch. I see more than half an inch, but not up to 3/4 inches. So here it is, I used this to be able to watch it. So I joined it together. That's all the length of it, joined it together, sewed it, and folded it and ironed it down before sewing. So here it is, this other part now is more than 1 inch, can you see? And so I'll sew it. So I left the same pattern up, can you see? And then sew the third line too before I'll sew the fourth line. So here it is, this is how it looks when I place it and I follow that step, and then this is the fourth line that was sewn, and we're good. Just sewed all that line equally and perfectly, more than half an inch. Then I opened it. This is the use of our seam ripper. So we're going to open the part where we joined for us to be able to pass the thread. So just open that part specifically like this, neatly, and go to the other part, open it like this neatly, where our elastic thread is going to pass, our elastic band is going to pass. So place it. So it's optional. If you want to put the elastic thread at the first part, you can do that, but in this case I didn't put the elastic thread on the first part, so I left that first part. So here's the elastic thread, and this is it. I would get up to 3 of them. So this is it. I'll give you the measurement for it. So the total measurement for it was 21.5 inches. So you see it stretches well and it will ruch beautifully. So I'll use my manjo or safety pin and place it inside like this, pin it, let it hold perfectly, and after that I'll get the parts where I opened up with my seam ripper, place it in, and that's what you just do all the way through till you get to the other edge and bring it out the other way. So for it not to go in and then out again, at the bottom part I pinned it down with my pin, my safety pin, so that it doesn't pass underneath in a diagonal way. So you'd see how I'll do that at the end, and took my time doing this all the way through. So we're going to do it 3 times. Can you see? our safety pin at the bottom part, and then pass it all the way through. This is just easy. It just passes. You just have to be patient with this, and it passes all the way, and we've gotten to this edge. Can you see where we placed our safety pin? So we bring it out like this, and then sew the two edges together. So I'll sew this part to the other part, and I sewed it up to like 3 times, locked it very well, and we're good to go. We're good with our, see it, we're good with one of them. So we're going to repeat the same process with the other ones as well. So this is where we're going to join. When we join, it just sits in perfectly. You don't even need to seal it up. If you want to seal it up, it's up to you. It's your choice. Then this is how it comes out. Neat and beautiful. So we're good with our waistline, and so just make sure we pin the edges and then sew exactly it. Our pocket, everything is set, and we're good to go. Our trouser is ready. Isn't this gorgeous? So here is a view again, how beautiful and gorgeous it is. Don't forget to like and subscribe, follow, and then tell me in the comment section what you'd want to learn. And thank you so much for being part of this family. Have a lovely day. Bye.